December 1945. Upper Egypt, when the matuk of a local peasant shattered a sealed clay jar near the cliffs of Nag Hammadi. He didn't just find old pup, he cracked open a time capsule that the institutional church had thought was buried forever. Inside those leather-bound codices were the Gnostic gospel texts that predate the Vatican, predate the Council of Nicaea, and predate the sanitized version of Christianity you were taught in Sunday school. But among the metaphysical musings and the cosmic cosmologies, scholars found something that made the theologians in Rome very, very nervous. Hidden within the Gospel of Philip was not just philosophy. It was technology. Philip describes 3 specific objects that Jesus gave to his inner circle. These were not symbols. They were not metaphors for faith or hope. They were actual, physical items fashioned by human hands, designed to carry the frequency of the pleroma, the fullness of God. The language used in the text is startlingly technical. It speaks of resonance, frequency shielding, and the creation of a sovereign biofield. Gnostic communities preserved this knowledge in secret for centuries, not because it was holy, but because it worked. When initiates used these objects, the mental fog lifted. The energy drained, what we now call archonic harvesting, stopped. Spiritual interference ceased. The institutional church didn't suppress this text for theological reasons. They didn't burn the books because they were heresy. They destroyed them because they were competition. Tonight, we are going to reconstruct the forbidden arsenal. You will discover all 3 objects. You will understand the physics behind why they work, and you will understand why the knowledge of these simple items threaten the control of the empire more than any doctrine ever could. The jar is broken. The seal is removed. Are you ready to see what's inside? To understand the suppression, you must follow the money. The moment you grasp why the church systematically destroyed every trace of these sacred objects, the history of Western religion snaps into focus. It wasn't about saving souls. It was about preserving a monopoly. The early church fathers, specifically around the 4th century, faced an existential crisis. Jesus had taught his disciples how to create physical objects that provided direct protection from demonic and archonic forces. He essentially handed ordinary people the keys to spiritual warfare. No priests required, no complex rituals, no tithing, no institutional oversight. Think about what this meant for the emerging hierarchy in Rome. Their entire business model depended on being the exclusive middleman between the believer and the divine. They sold protection. They sold exorcisms. They sold blessings. If a carpenter in Antioch could craft a simple pendant that completely shielded his family from psychic manipulation, what did he need a bishop for? If a merchantess wife could inscribe specific symbols that created a Faraday cage of protection around her home, why would she pay for a priestly blessing? The threat was immediate and catastrophic. We are talking about the collapse of ecclesiastical revenue streams. This is not speculation. Early church records the ones. They keep deep in the Vatican archives, reveal heated debates about unauthorized spiritual practices. Cyril of Alexandria, a powerful bishop and ruthless politician, wrote extensively about the danger of self. He wasn't worried about their souls. He was worried about their independence. The Council of Nicaea in 325 AD wasn't just about the nature of Christ. It was a corporate merger, consolidating spiritual authority under imperial control. Constantine didn't want a nation of sovereign mystics. He wanted a compliant populace. What followed was centuries of methodical destruction. The heresy hunters had a protocol. When they raided a Gnostic community, they didn't just burn the people. First, they scraped the symbols off the walls. Second, they melted down the jewelry and amulets. Third, they burned the parchments. Only then did they deal with the heretics. Why this order? Because they knew that as long as the objects remained, the frequency of liberation remained. They were trying to tune out a signal they couldn't control. This suppression reached its horrifying peak during the Albigensian Crusade against the Catholics. When the Pope ordered, "Kill them all. God will know his own." He was targeting a population that had preserved the unbroken chain of Jesus's protective technology. These objects worked. They produced verifiable results. Children were calmer, nightmares ceased, and the oppressive weight of the Archons. The rulers of this realm, this contradicted the church's narrative that you are weak, sinful, and in constant need of saving. These objects implied that divine protection is a birthright, not a subscription service. Today, the suppression continues, but it has shifted from fire and sword to ridicule and distraction. We are told that objects are just superstition, or conversely, that we must buy anointed water from a televangelist. It is the same game, but the physics of the spirit cannot be delayed. What I am about to share isn't mysticism. It is the intersection of consciousness and matter. It is the science of resonance. The three forbidden objects. Before we reveal the objects, we must establish the mechanism. Everything in existence, including your thoughts and the entities that feed on them, operates at specific electromagnetic frequencies. Modern neuroscience confirms that the brain generates electrical impulses. The heart generates a magnetic field detectable feet away from the body. This is not New Age. This is biology. Crystalline structures emit measurable fields. Geometric shapes create standing waves. The Gnostics understood frequency anchors. A frequency anchor is a physical object that continuously broadcasts a specific vibrational pattern. The Archons, non-physical entities of the lower astral, operate on low frequencies. Fear, shame, confusion. They cannot touch anything that vibrates higher than their range. By carrying an object that holds a high-frequency resonance, you create constructive interference. You amplify your own field, making yourself invisible to the parasites. Object number 1. The Stone of Vision, Lapis Lazuli. The first object is a stone that made pharaohs bow and priests tremble. Lapis Lazuli. The Egyptians called it the Stone of Heaven. The Sumerians believed it contained the soul of the deity, but the Gnostics used it for a specific biological purpose. Every mystery school knew that Lapis Lazuli emits a frequency that resonates perfectly with the pineal gland, the third eye. The archonic forces target your pineal gland specifically. Through fluoride, through screen flicker, through trauma. If they can blind your spiritual sight, you cannot see the bars of the prison. This is not just a pretty rock. The Lapis Lazuli matrix contains lazurite, calcite, and most importantly, pyrite. Pyrite is a conductor. It creates a unique electromagnetic signature. When you carry genuine Lapis Lazuli, it must have the gold flecks near your throat or heart. It acts as a tuning fork. It constantly broadcasts the signal of an active pineal gland. Through the process of entrainment, your own biology begins to match that frequency. Within 14 days, the fog lifts. Dreams become lucid. You begin to perceive the energetic architecture of the room. You see the entities, and once you see them, they lose their power. Object number 2. The written name, the frequency anchor. The Gospel of Philip contains a radical statement. Names given to the worldly are very deceptive, for they divert our thoughts from what is correct to what is incorrect. The church interpreted this as a call to prayer. They were lying. Philip was referring to the written name of the monad. In Aramaic mysticism, a name Shem is not a label. It is a blueprint of vibration. Spoken words dissipate. Written words are permanent transmissions. The second object is a piece of paper, inscribed by your own hand, with the phrase, I am monad. Let's deconstruct the physics of this phrase. I am. This is the Aya Asher. Aya given to Moses. It is the declaration of self-existent consciousness. It connects you to the eternal now. Monad. From the Greek monas, it represents the indivisible unity, the source before the demiurge, the God above, the God of this world. When you write this using ink, not graphite. Graphite is temporary. Ink is binding. You are creating a binding phrase. You fold it 3 times. The number 3 represents the synthesis of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. You carry this on the right side of your body, the active projective side. It acts as a firewall. It announces to every entity in the astral plane. This being is sovereign. This being is connected to the source. Do not approach. It stops the confusion-based attacks instantly. Object number 3. The geometric vessel, the monad circle, the third object requires nothing but geometry, yet it terrified the Inquisition. Truth cannot exist in this dimension without a vessel. Jesus taught the inner circle, the monad, circle the circle, a circle with a dot in the center. Simplicity is its weapon. The circle represents the infinite consciousness. No beginning, no end. The point represents youth, a divine spark, the localized expression of the infinite. The relationship is unity. You are in the center of the infinite. This object is different from the stone or the name. Those protect you. This symbol protects space. It changes the atmospheric pressure of a room. Archons feed on separation. They feed on the idea that you are alone, small, and cut off from God. This symbol broadcasts the frequency of unity. When you draw this with your own hand, conscious engagement, and place it on your wall or bedside table, you create a zone of immunity. Entities that vibrate with separation cannot maintain their coherence in the presence of this geometry. They literally unravel. Gnostic communities use this to mark their safe houses. The church destroyed the markings first, the people second. They knew that as long as a symbol stood, the space was liberated. Now, we must understand the synthesis. The Gnostics didn't just use these items randomly. They created a Triadic Shield. Think of it like a security system for your soul. Lapis Lazuli, the radar, reactivates your perception so you can see the attacks coming. The written name, the firewall, protects your mind from confusion and thought insertion. The monad circle, the sanctuary, clears your environment so you can rest and recharge without being harvested during sleep. I have watched modern people who know nothing of ancient theology apply this system. The results are consistent. First comes the detox. When you introduce high-frequency objects to a suppressed biofield, there's a reaction. You might feel dizzy for a few days. You might have vivid, intense dreams as the subconscious clears out the parasites. This is frequency adjustment syndrome. It means it is working. After about 2 weeks, the silence settles in. The racing thoughts stop. The bad luck streak ends. People who were draining you suddenly drift away, repelled by your new vibration. This is the ripple effect. When you stabilize your own field, you become a walking frequency anchor for others. You walk into a room, and the tension drops. You speak, and people listen. You are no longer feeding the system. You are disrupting it. This is why the Empire feared the Gnostics. You cannot rule a population that cannot be scared. You cannot control the people who know they are the monad expressed in form. We are living in the time of the great revealing. The jar at Nag Hammadi didn't crack by accident. It opened because we were finally ready to handle what was inside. The church spent 1,600 years trying to turn you into a beaker, begging for salvation, begging for protection, begging for a middleman to talk to God for you. But the original teaching was never about begging. It was about empowerment. These 3 objects, the stone, the name, the symbol, are training wheels for your consciousness. They are tools to help you remember what you are. Eventually, you won't need the stone to see. You won't need the paper to know your name. You won't need the drawing to hold your space. You will become the object. Your body will become the stone. Your mind will become the name. Your spirit will become the circle. But until that day comes, use the tools the Master provided. Do not let the skepticism of the modern world, or the dogmas of the old world, keep you defenseless. The war is not fought with swords. It is fought with frequency. Tonight, draw the circle. Write the name. Find a stone. Reclaim the heritage they stole from you. The church is not a building. The church is the indwelling spirit of the monad, protected, awake, and sovereign. Visual. Text on screen. I understood it. Fade to black. If this message found its mark in your soul, if you feel the resonance of truth ringing in your bones, signal your awakening. Go to the comments right now and write, I understood. Let the algorithm know. Let the Archons know. Let the monad know. You are awake. You are armed. You are free.